So with that, Tim, please.
So I am smart enough to know that the acoustics in this room are not the best. I wanted to lead off real quick with the slideshow that has been running in the background. I host a number of meetups here, so you guys are just an extension of all the wonderful opportunity and community outreach I get to do as part of our initiative with Conscious Capitalism. So my shameless pitch for Improving is we are one of the fastest growing digital services companies that you may or may not have heard of. And we're headquartered right here in Plano, and we offer everything from training to monolithic application decomposition. We're not going to rebuild a mainframe and app in COBOL for you. So, but we'll do all kinds of other things in between, including, shrinking the monolith down and going out and distributing across a cloud platform and microservices. So that's the obligatory selling point right here. But it is my pleasure to have you here at Improving. Darvin has been on me for months to actually show up and attend one of the meetups. And it was probably, 5 months ago, I think, the first time? Yeah. And when the opportunity came up to host here in our offices, I thought, man, this is a great thing. Because we really like giving back to the community, especially the tech community. And so alongside that came, would you consider speaking? And I went, oh, of course, yes. Because, technologists, we like to speak, or at least in our space. And so today you're going to actually get a twofer. So while I transition between the slide decks, one of the things I wanted to ask as a general question, because I really don't know the answer to this, is anybody familiar with CodeLaunch? Okay, so we've got a handful of people, which is good. So this is going to be a double header, and it's going to cover CodeLaunch, which is our startup accelerator. And the great news for you here in the room is that I've got a QR code for every one of you to be able to attend CodeLaunch, compliments of Improving. And it's going to be about midway through the slide deck, and I'll pause on the slide for you guys to actually take advantage of that QR code. So CodeLaunch was an idea that was launched 11 years ago. And what it started out as is an intra-company competition between Improving and Code Authority. And it went on for several years, and it has primarily found its way here in the Frisco-Plano area as far as locations where it's been hosted. It literally started out in, I think, Code Authority's office in one of the conference rooms, and it was very small. So it has now since scaled to include 2 additional countries besides the United States, being Mexico and Canada. And this year is going to be our first head-to-head championship competition. So you are getting in on the ground floor of the next evolution of CodeLaunch. The way that Jason Taylor likes to brand this, and by the way, Jason was the founder and CEO of Code Authority. So he and David O'Hara, who is the Dallas office president, got the friendly competition going. But Jason is very fond of describing CodeLaunch as Shark Tank meets a rock and roll show. Words, difficult, they're challenging. And it truly is an event. And it takes place one night. And so it's multi-hour, and it's also multi-entertaining because in our particular case this year, we're going to be having this down at Gillies, which I think is our 3rd running at Gillies in Southeast Dallas. And Conscious Capitalism is going to have a panel discussion in the preceding hours ahead of the show, as well as a couple of other groups. And along with that, we've got an exhibit area. So it serves more than just getting startups on stage, giving them an opportunity to pitch both to the audience and potential investors. It really showcases what we're doing as far as our involvement in the community here in Dallas. So these are some of the stats. These are some of the numbers. And one of the things that I like to highlight is the fact that we've already done this type of funding. And for those investors out there in the audience, this is, if you think about this, this is a show that actually highlights where future opportunities exist. The impetus behind CodeLaunch as a startup accelerator was to bring these companies in, have them pitch a concept, and ultimately get that concept in front of an audience as part of a combination of building out the whole business acumen piece behind the concept and providing 20 or 48 hours worth of hackathon effort free of charge. So at a minimum, every one of the participants actually walks away with a better understanding of what it's going to take to be a successful business, in addition to working code. So it could be a simple problem such as, hey, I've got a web page, but I don't have a mobile app. Oh, you can solve that. Or it can be even more complex, like system-to-system integration. But the whole point is we've got a full spectrum of businesses that show up and make it through the gauntlet of a CodeLaunch selection to ultimately end up on the main stage. At the local level, this year we had a competition in Houston, Minneapolis, which was an inaugural event, Toronto, which was an inaugural, and tonight is actually Guadalajara in our second year down in Mexico. So typically what will occur is between 6 and 8 teams will be selected as part of the winnowing process, and they will get the hackathon team pairing, and ultimately they're going to pitch on the main stage. So coming out of tonight's competition, there is going to be a judge's choice champion. There's also going to be a people's choice champion. And there's $10,000 in addition to the working code on the line. And this is all no strings attached. And the reason for this is because it leans into our belief about conscious capitalism. So are any of you familiar with conscious capitalism as a concept? So I'm going to give you the 5-minute breakdown. Conscious capitalism is backed by 4 tenets. It is also a movement that was founded about 15 years ago by John Mackey, who is one of the co-founders of Whole Foods, as well as a gentleman, Professor Raj Sisodia. They basically looked at capitalism and said, there's a lot of things that work well in capitalism, but there's also a lot of things that need to change. And so they crafted 4 tenets that I think when you go out onto the website and start doing your own research, you read through this and it's like, yes, this makes sense. Purpose beyond profit. I mean, yes, we can be a business and we definitely need to make a profit, but what are we doing with all that excess, that we might be generating? Where is that going? As well as conscious leadership, which Improving is a very unique company, and you just left IBM, right? Okay, so I left IBM after being there for 2 years, and in the meanwhile, being part of the meetup culture here at Improving. Because we support conscious capitalism, and we really take this seriously in the company, the fact that I saw it in action, and the fact that the words on the walls are not just words on the walls, the company really lives into this whole concept. I'm like, man, this is where I want to be. If I'm going to go into consulting, this is the place where I'm going to be able to make the biggest and most impactful gains professionally and for my clients. So with this foundation of conscious capitalism and CodeLaunch being an outshoot of this whole concept, we've really sought to bring startups together with mature businesses, the community, and kind of have everybody all under one roof for one evening so that folks can be exposed to opportunities that they might not normally be exposed to. And so for members of the investment community, this is an incredible opportunity. I can speak specifically to a couple of the competitors that I got to know personally last year. The company Lighthouse, which is actually, she runs a not-for-profit. She was the People's Choice as well as the Judge's Choice winner. I talked to her before and after CodeLaunch, and her story was amazing from the standpoint that she was able to connect with other folks who were in the nonprofit community, grow her ecosystem, and move her platform forward with additional investors. Another team, Maslow Health, similar thing. The fact that he was able to be in a room with folks who were serious about investing in Maslow basically put him on a path where he was able to, I think they folded Maslow Health into an actual health system. So it's now their mobile app for reaching underserved communities out in the Carolinas. So the power of this event, the power of this platform really can't be understated. And as a not-for-profit entity, of course, the real gain is to the winners and the participants and of course the audience when you're sitting there and you're getting your opportunity to vote and decide, which team had the better pitch, which team had the better software. And I like to talk through all of this because as we're continuing to move forward and trying to create a bigger impact, Jason is always looking for partners in this venture. And I sit back and for my part, I try to get the message of CodeLaunch in front of as many people as I possibly can, both privately as well as publicly, because I see what's going on. And I recognize that there's a lot of accelerators, there's a lot of organizations who are in this space, but Jason has carved out kind of a unique path in the way that he provides this opportunity to the startup community. And with that being said, I'm going to give you a final set of numbers, which I think is going to help really bring this home for you, because these are the numbers that matter because they're growing. And the fact that we're always looking for the most diversity that we can get when we run these competitions. The fact that we are going out into different metros. Now, mind you, we're kind of selfish. The metros that we go and we run these competitions in are metros where we have improving offices. So, as we continue to expand and scale this, I envision that we'll be in other metros where we don't necessarily have an organic presence, but I think that's more of a long-term strategy. But for right now, because we have 16, 17 offices through the US, Mexico, and Canada, we've got pretty good coverage in most of the major metros. So I wanted to land everything on my QR code so you can take and pull this up on a mobile device. This is an Eventbrite QR code. This gives you an opportunity to actually attend CodeLaunch free of charge. And you can bring your family. My oldest daughter has attended, I think this is going to be her third year now, because I've attended 4 times. And she thoroughly enjoys it. And for a young adult at 19 years old to be hanging out with her dad on a Wednesday or Thursday night, that is truly impressive. So let me know once you guys have had a chance to take the picture of that, because I want to bring up my friend and improving alumni, Mr. Yeshwant Muthusamy. Or I should say Dr. Yeshwant. Because this is the fun part. This is where we're going to do a fireside chat, and we're going to talk about what is going on in the business side of generative AI. So we good? I don't see any more phones up. All right. By the way, if you want, I can actually send you the PDF file of all the details around CodeLaunch. It'd be my pleasure to do that. So you can send me an email. And also, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn and you haven't already done so, just feel free. So Yeshwant, you and I have known each other for going on 2 years now. Yeah, God, 3 years. Seems like a lifetime most of the time. One of the things I enjoy doing is I like talking tech, and most specifically, and now we're kind of 2 years into the public awareness of generative artificial intelligence. We at Improving have been working very diligently to unlock value using generative artificial intelligence for our clients. But I would say more broadly, just artificial intelligence. So walk me through that. That involves what components? Because in your course, you give a great onion diagram. And I'm going to turn the mic over to you to walk through that.
It is great that thanks to Gen AI, the entire field of AI itself has hit the limelight, so to speak, and hit the public consciousness. And so it's great to see Gen AI, the field of AI itself, hit prime time. But it comes along with it, it brings along with it a lot of misconceptions and a lot of misinformation. Like I've had people come up to me and say, this AI thing is so cool. It started in November 2022. And that is, I mean, this is an actual statement that was made to me. And as people who are in the field know, that is not true at all. And so the work in AI first started in actually 1950. And so, but it's great to see the progression of thought over the years. And Gen AI is just one small part of the overall field of AI, something that I emphasize in the course that I teach. By the way, the course that he's referring to is the course that I call Generative AI for the Rest of Us. It is a course designed for non-technical professionals and business leaders. And I've taught and I'm in the middle of the fourth cohort of that course, and Tim is one of my students in that cohort. And but as part of in teaching that course, I get to see a wide swath of professionals who are taking the course or have taken the course. And it's quite interesting to see people in pretty high positions in the various companies in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Their understanding of AI and what it takes to deploy AI is pretty much at ground zero.
Yeah, and for us at Improving, and the reason why I've got this slide up is this actually came out last fall as a press release on our website. Hence the QR code back to the website, to our newsroom. So our Chief Consulting Officer, Devlin Wiles, basically, we decided to take and put our money where our mouth is. Now that figure of $3.5 billion is now 4.1 and north. It's not that we've done anything new or different in this space. It's just that we've been very focused on the foundational aspects, the machine learning, the neural networks, all the underpinnings that power generative AI as we see it on the internet today, but working with these organizations to start tackling these problems in the broader artificial intelligence space. And I want to shift back though to kind of the relevance that you're seeing as far as this conversation in your course. And by the way, I'm a cheater, and Yeshwant and I went through the questions because we wanted to give you kind of valuable insight, both from the consulting side as well as from the business conversation side. So, are you seeing a particular theme show up or themes in your cohorts as far as the conversation around generative AI and its business use?
Sure.
You have the old predictive and discriminative AI and the new flashy, sexy generative AI. And a lot of people are taken by the glitz of generative AI, even though for many companies, the real money is still in the old AI, as we call it, in the discriminative and predictive AI. And a lot of people don't realize that the predictive analytics that many of the big firms have been doing for years or decades is also a part of AI. And that is what is actually making the real money these days, the old AI, so to speak. And so I like to use this analogy in my course, that if you are living 1 mile from work and about 1.5 miles from the grocery store, you can invest in a Lamborghini or a Ferrari to take you back and forth from these two places that you need to go. But you might save a lot more money and get a lot more out of your limited cash budget because all you really need is maybe a used Honda Civic. And that is where a lot of companies I see are. They want that bright, shiny thing which they hear about in the news and see on LinkedIn, even though they may not really need it. And so, an underlying theme that I'm seeing in my cohorts is, one, people are not aware that Gen AI is not it, that there is a lot more to it than just Gen AI and ChatGPT. And second, they are absolutely terrified when they realize that their data is not in the form that can be ingested by these AI models directly, and they actually have to do work massaging that data and changing the format and structure of the data to a form that can be ingested by these AI models. And that, once again, is the unsexy, unglamorous part of AI, but that is needed. That is an essential prerequisite before you can even start looking at what AI models you're going to use.
Yeah, and I think you actually covered my second and third questions. So one of the things that I wanted to do is highlight the fact that there's a lot of tools that major companies are coming out with, Microsoft being one of many, where they're embedding AI in applications. So the second question in this, which you just hit on, was the whole, what sort of FOMO, fear of missing out, are these business professionals sharing. And of course, it's like, well, I want this Copilot or this ChatGPT thing. It doesn't happen though without great data. And by great data, I mean properly structured, complete, easy to understand, well organized. To get a little geeky, stuff that's been normalized down to the third and fourth normal form as defined by Boy Scott. So, that being stated, how are businesses adopting generative AI? What are you seeing that is working for different companies that are taking a more deliberate approach and understand that foundations need to be laid, all this needs to be in proper order, and what does that look like as far as building on top of that?
I mean, what I see that a lot of companies find that starting off with a RAG pattern seems to be the most important. Yeah.
RAG.
Yeah, I'm going to. Now, what is RAG? RAG refers to retrieval augmented generation. So that is a great way whereby you are putting guardrails to an existing large language model, and those guardrails pertain to having it just refer to your business data in answering queries about your business. So if you had a RAG chatbot, then that chatbot it's still going to be using a large language model, but it's the chances of it going off the deep end, or chances of it hallucinating, are severely reduced if it is going to a database of your business data and using your business data to answer questions that pertain to your business. Now, this could be your own employees who want to get access to your company's. It Could be your own employees who want to get access to your company's HR manual, for example. Or it could be your end customers who want to access your website. And so, which means that chatbot can be going on all day and all night long without you having to have a real person. So that is what I'm seeing a lot of companies are doing in terms of their first foray into Gen AI. That to a lot of companies represents the low-hanging fruit. But RAG doesn't come without its own caveats and issues. Do you want to go into that? Yeah. Because the way it works is, you're actually, the whole point of retrieval augmented generation is you're retrieving the proper context for your query from your business data, and then you're augmenting your query with that business data, and then you're sending it to the large language model. Well, guess what? If that large language model is being hosted by a third party, like OpenAI, or Meta, or Google, you have effectively now leaked your business data to those companies. And depending on the size of that companies, you may or may not have an SLA with those guys. And even if you do, how much is it really worth? Because once the data leaves the four walls of your business, you have no control over what happens to it and who sees it. You are hoping that Microsoft abides by the SLA. You're hoping that Google abides by the SLA, and maybe they do. But the point is, there are certain industries where you could ill afford to even take the chance, like healthcare and financial industries. So while RAG is a great way to get into Gen AI, it is not the case for all businesses based on the type of data that the business is using.
Yeah, and we ate our own dog food here at Improving. We've figured out a fair number of ways to put the right safeguards and security around these large language models, not the least of which the hosting subscriptions on Azure, on Amazon, on Google Cloud, because then you've got an ironclad agreement. Now, of course, there's no guarantees that data isn't going to leak. There's always going to be nefarious actors, but at least doing it through cloud hosting services and not directly into a model through an API, you put an extra layer of protection in place to potentially prevent proprietary information going out and being available to nefarious actors, to people who would do your business harm. So I wanted to wrap up, and we're nearly at time. Looking forward to the future. So in transition to the next slide, we put out a blog post. One of my colleagues, Kevin Jourdain, kind of walked through where we were forecasting for 2024. This was published back in March. Some of the key AI trends. So for you, because you're equally as close, more so to the small, medium-sized business space, what are you seeing come down the pipe?
I do agree with these things, but there is also each day I open up my LinkedIn profile, I get the feeling I'm already falling behind. There's always a new development, but not all developments are of the same level of stature. There is a lot of hype that's also going on. But one thing that's not mentioned on the slide, but which I think is coming, or actually two things. It is we are going to be seeing an increasing number of small language models. So we are rapidly approaching the era of everybody here having their own personal small language model on their devices. That is going to be effectively implementing a form of RAG, meaning that it has access to all of your data. And so that therefore all of the data that is important to you will be at your fingerprints. Will be at your fingertips. You don't have to go searching for any of that anymore. You just ask it, you just type it in, or ask it, and voila, you have it. Of course, what that means is don't lose your phone. because then you are going to be in deep trouble. But I think, I mean, on a more serious note, the reason small language models are going to be more prevalent is because of the increased horsepower of the phones, and also we now have these small models like the Llama 3.18 billion. It is not quite ready yet for a phone, but you have other smaller models which are just 2 billion parameters and the 3.5 billion parameters, which will fit on a phone. And those things might be more than enough. I mean, they're not going to be able to answer the type of involved questions like a ChatGPT 4.0 or a ChatGPT 0.1 is going to answer. But for your purposes, a 3.5 or 4 billion parameter model is more than enough to be able to handle all of your data and to answer queries pertaining to your data. That's one thing. The second thing which I'm seeing increasingly is the advent of multi-agentic applications. AI agents are coming. A lot of them are in prototype stage and pilot stage. There are very few companies who have the deep pockets and the ability to take risks with them that actually have deployed. I don't know of any big names that have actually deployed multi-agentic applications, but they are all working on it for sure. And that is a very powerful concept, where it's the large language model is actually acting as the reasoning engine at the center of it. But it's using various tools, pre-existing tools that exist. And everything is being driven by the prompt, really. The prompt is at the heart of a multi-agentic application. So based on the prompt that you give it, the large language model can go out and get information, say, from the weather forecasting app, or from a travel airline booking app, or from a hotel booking app, and then come back to you with what you want done. So you could think of an agent or a multi-agentic application that books your entire vacation for you based on your preferences. And it also has there are multi-agentic applications that have the concept of reflection built in, meaning that they come back with an answer and then they think about whether the answer actually satisfies your request. And then they go back out if they feel that the answer is not what you want, and then they come back again. And so there is a lot of fun stuff being worked on right now, but the large language model is still at the heart of it all. And it is still the same large language model. The large language model hasn't changed. It is the prompting and the way you design the workflow between the prompt and the large language model and the tools is what makes multi-agentic applications so powerful. So that I would see a lot more of. I expect to see a lot more of that in the next year.
Thank you, Yeshwant. It's always a pleasure being able to have a conversation with you, especially around this, because this is tomorrow's technology today. One of the things that we've been running here at Improving, which I invite all of you to go to our website. We've got a series of webinars it started at the beginning of October. It's going to run through next month. 12 different sessions where we're talking about some of this technology, different experts in the field. And it may give you a better understanding of where this trend is headed. So on that note, James, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Thank you so much for coming in and allowing us to share.